What is up, everybody? Today it's the first day in, like, I don't know, 5 days since it hasn't rained. Where I live, it has been absolutely brutal. Like, I want to say in the first week of April we probably got like 5-6 inches of rain. So water not very clean today. Also working on like close to a full moon tide, so it is going to be ripping. I'm out on my boat today so that I can explore a little bit more. With the wind that we have and the tide we have, I wouldn't be able to cover as much ground in the kayak, but I'm gonna try and hit some spots that I think should hold stripers. If not, I'll just keep exploring, so stay tuned. All right, man, so that's a good sign. We just got here and I'm starting to mark fish. Right now the wind is working with the tide, which makes it a super fast drift. So I'm probably gonna have to keep the motor running, but let me get my rod rigged and we'll get it going. There's a fish. Let's go. That's a good feeling. Usually the first cast does not end that way, but I will take that. Not a big guy by any means, but man, first cast. Oh man, little rat, little rascal. I wouldn't even call that a rat. There we go. That's like, man, if that were a perch, that would have been a nice sized perch. Man, aren't the colors on these fish so cool during the springtime? They get like this super color. There he goes. Oh, well, that's always a great sign. Look at that. Holy smokes. That's fish. All right, we'll just finish this drift out. I just marked a ton of fish back where I started. Still marking fish. I think they're just sitting in here. So we'll finish out the drift. If we don't get anything else, we'll I guess set back up. Yeah, I'm just seeing fish galore on this. They're kind of like suspended up. My guess. Oh geez, I'm not even looking. Wow. I'm trying to look at my screen over here, and I gotta tighten that drag. That's a little loose. There we go. What I was saying before I was looking at my screen, I think they're just sitting up in this higher water column because there's a lot of tide today. We're coming up on that full moon, so these fish are going to be on the move very shortly, and I think they are just feeding, gorging on these herring that are moving upriver. This guy doesn't feel terrible. Oh yeah. Compared to that first rat that we had, this guy probably could eat that guy. He's still not a huge striper. Ooh, there we go. Yeah, I know these North Jersey guys are probably watching, saying like this is a baby striper compared to what they see year round, or you know, the fall and spring runs up on the Raritan. But dude, us South Jersey guys, I'll take numbers over size any day of the week. All right, so just set back up on that drift that we were on, shut the motor off. I'm just gonna let the wind take us. It is what it is. On a day like today, like, not much you could really do. You know, to be honest, I'm more excited that it's not downpouring. You know, I'll take this weather all day. Not a huge fan of the wind, to be honest with you, but if you dress for it, it ain't as bad as you would think. Now that's where we picked up our first striper. He was really small, sitting on that. Yep, there's fish right on that. Whoa, I knew there would be something back there on that flat. Why they sit on these flats, man, when you get a cold snap like we did, like, you know, where the sun hadn't been out in a few days, and we get a sunny day like this, those mud flats warm up real fast with the sun beating on them on a low tide. And when the tide comes in, naturally that area of the bay is warmer from, you know, being exposed to the sun and not in the water. I mean, this ain't a bad one, it ain't big, but I'll take it. Oh man. And it is neat though to see the colors. They change the hue, I feel like, in the spring. They get like more purplish. So I would say this is one of those days where if we had a trolling motor, life would be a lot easier, but sometimes I feel like less is more. I know I'm probably burning more fuel setting up the drift every time, but you know, at a certain point you got to think, how much technology do you really need, man? Like, I think back to my grandfather, who's now 96. I'm sorry, just turned 97 in March. And he would tell me stories about how they would row like almost like a lifeguard boat out front about a mile off the beach to catch croakers, and they would literally fill their boat the whole day to go, you know, sell them to the market. And they didn't have a fish finder, you know, they didn't have any of the technology that we're fortunate to have. Sometimes I feel like the more technology we have, the actual less fishing we're doing. You know, there's days where I have to catch myself because I'm staring at the screen too much, and it almost becomes like video game fishing at that point. Man, look at the color on that guy. I know I probably said that a few times, but it's like light green. So cool. All right, maybe we'll pick one more up before we have to redrift. We shall see. I think that mud flat though's the ticket right now. I'm seeing them. It also, the other thing about flats, especially if you could find them tucked away from current, I feel like you can find some fish that are just sitting there waiting for the tide to switch. Now, one of the things that I would recommend if you're fishing by boat, when you locate these fish like we have, try and stay as far as possible within range of your cast. I do find that in real shallow water, they can get spooked. I can't tell you how many times, like, I found fish and I ran over them and kind of spooked them and just ruined the bite the rest of the day. That's why, if you notice, I'm kind of hovering as far as I can off of where I think they're sitting. That way, if you pick off a fish, you're not spooking the rest of the school that might be sitting there, but which at this point I think we can safely say, I'm going to bring them to this side, I think we can safely say that they are schooled up on that flat. And where I'm casting is probably only about a foot of water, honestly, which is really shallow. The big thing too, and I know, I'm sure some of the people watching don't want me to give this secret away, but I feel like a lot of guys are too focused on catching fish in the deepest possible spots, and these fish will move shallow. All right, gotta strike while the iron's hot, man. I'm telling you. Let me make sure. Yeah. Sometimes when you get a bite like this, you gotta spend as least amount of time out of the water, because you could be missing out on a very short feeding window. And if I'm being honest with you, man, I know some of these videos that I put out, you probably think that I'm setting the world on fire, but what you probably don't see, because I edited it out, are, you know, the countless hours of exploring, trying different things, and not really getting much success off of those things. But that's fishing for you, you know. If you do the same thing over and over again, it does get old. Oh yeah, those fish are still there. They're still suspended up though. I think they're just ambushing any bait that's getting washed past them. And this time of year it's typically herring, but I have seen bunker, In fact, the other day I saw a school of adult bunker pushing into the bay, and bass were behind them. But when you see fish like that, it's a real short window. I mean, the window of catching was probably like 15 minutes because they were all over the bunker. And as long as they're on the surface and you can see them, it's easy to track them. But when they push them under and they go deep, you could spend a lot of time just kind of looking for them. Might have to go back to where we started, but I do want to give this whole drift a chance because I know there's fish all within here. I mean, the marks I was seeing a few minutes ago was unbelievable. Might have to go back to where I was seeing them. Now I'll tell you what, fishing ain't always sunshine and rainbows for me, man. Today I'm just fortunate that the plan that I scouted up or wrote up worked. Oh, I just got a short strike right there. Not every time I come out here does what I plan come to fruition. I do get a lot of guys that will say, you know, reach out saying like they're having tough time finding fish, and you know, they've tried a bunch of different things. The one thing I've learned in the spring, if you're not catching, it's one of two things. And typically it's the first thing. One, the fish are not where you think they are. And if you're fishing from land, you don't have the luxury of you know, of marking fish with a depth finder or fish finder. But I'm telling you, if you're not catching fish right away, they're probably not right there. The second one is, and it's just as big sometimes of the fish being there, whatever you're presenting them, they don't want. Today's bait, I don't think I showed it in the beginning, but just a little 4-inch swim bait. I tried to mimic the same colors of what like the herring that are migrating up, you know, the bays and rivers right now. All right, so I've established that there are fish sitting up here where we're working. I'll probably take only a few more casts because I do want to explore some different areas. I know it sounds crazy leaving fish to find fish, but it's one of those things, man. I only get so many hours out on the water, and I just want to make sure I'm trying different things at different times, because you know, this is a viable option right now, but you know, there could be 20, 30 different other ways to catch these fish. Like, I'm more interested at the end of this, you know, trip, trying to do some deep jigging, see if I can't find some fish, staging it, you know, various parts, because this time of year, man, could be so hard. And I always like to reference the previous year, not that every year's the same, but I like to kind of reference previous catches and how I caught them. That way I could kind of scout out or map up the future. But like I said earlier, the spring is very tough because these fish are on the move. A lot of time they're just pushing and pushing, following the bait. You know, every March we get this amazing blueback herring run in New Jersey, and they push, you know, into the inlets, through the bays and up the rivers, and a lot of these stripers are following them right now. And if you find the herring, man, you're finding the fish. All right, this will probably be the last cast, then I'm gonna go exploring somewhere else. I also try to provide as different content as possible. You know, I'm always looking to try something different, try things that nobody's ever tried or never really thought of. See if we can't get one more fish off that flat. Oh, just had it tap. Yep, there we go, one more. That's all we need. We won't get greedy. Let these fish be. We'll look for a different school to pick on. Man, They are such a fun fish to catch too. Finishing the day actually with a pretty decent looking striper. There we go. I haven't measured any of these fish, nor will I measure this guy, but I don't think any of them would have kept. I think they're mostly like 26, 27 class fish. But I hope you enjoyed today's video.